Nice little route here to that tree. It's about 30 metres. So, getting on 160 metres. Now, I've got a contest coming up on very shortly for between 7 o'clock and 11 o'clock at night on 160 metres. It's the second part of a thing. I didn't join in the first one, but it made me think, wouldn't it be fun to live stream 160, you know? So I got a number of options. We've already got a big vertical in the field. I could put a loading coil at the bottom of that, on the bottom of the 12.4 signature. Now there is already a loading coil at about 8 metres up. It wouldn't be very efficient because a quarter wave on 160 metres is 40 metres tall. This is only 12. But I've done things like that before and got out. But it is an option to wind a coil, and I think I need, I don't know, about 50 microhenries or something. But we'll suck it and see. I mean, like all these things in the field, you know, you wind too many and you have to take some off, and eventually you get it about right. The SWR curve would be fairly steep, but we got tuner and stuff. We can cope with that, and so could you if that was your bag as well. But if you remember Dr. George, I forget his name, I'll put it on the screen, who invented, it wasn't a myth actually, he did some good science regarding shortened medium wave transmitter antennas. So I say shortened, it wasn't quarter wave lengths. He was talking like eighth wave, sort of thing we get into. Then the number of radials become a lot more important. I've only got about 2 wavelengths down on 160, and I'm at a very, very compact vertical as well. So there'll be quite a lot of losses there. However, I do have a radial field, about, I don't know, 300 or 400 metres, so getting on for about 1,000 feet of copper in the ground. An inverted L in that case would work. We'll do some modelling in a minute, and we'll go out to the field and let you see. Because I'd like your advice as well, what I should build. So an inverted L is just like a vertical, but it's bent over. So we still need a radial field, but we could get the whole 40 metres that way. So what we could do is we could go up 10 and along 30, or you can go up 12 and along 28. It depends where the angle of dangle is. And it doesn't have to be perfect anyway. And a lot of inverted Ls go up and then they have to droop a little bit. And by the way, imagine getting 30 metres of wire, right, just attaching it to a fence post and going to the other end. How hard are you going to have to pull that before it comes off the ground? A huge amount. So on 160 metres, everything becomes a little bit out of control. You need a lot of tension. So a simple fiberglass pole, you'd have to let it droop quite a lot. So we got the vertical, we get an inverted L. Now a sloper, traditionally I believe a sloper is basically a dipole, centre fed. All right. Now ideally if you've got a single tower, you can come off. Yeah, you don't need any radials because the other side of the dipole is, I don't know why they call it a sloper actually, but it's a dipole, okay, which slopes. Now that would work as well, but we don't have a tower. But we do have a tree line. Now the tree line, Tom and I worked out, is pretty blooming difficult to sync up. In other words, if you've ever put wires through trees before, it's really either catapult the thing right over the top, and by the way, within a few months it'll snap, something will break. Or you manage to thread it somehow, one branch at a time. It takes blooming forever. So right through the middle of a thick broadleaf forest, which, well, forest, woodland, if you like, at the back of the building here, is a bit of a tough. I have walked it this morning, and we'll go out in a minute, and I'll show you a potential route. Now, we got to remember that if I take a little bit of confidence from the linear loaded 80 metre that I made with Tom that day, so and I'll put a link to that in the description, because that's quite interesting how to shorten an 80 metre dipole. And then we got each leg. So Tom's gone one leg all the way down there.
All the way down that way.
Yeah. And then the other leg. Effectively, I've kind of got the same problem. I can't quite get a full-sized 160 metre dipole down through the woods here. There's just not enough room for where, you know, it's acceptable. So ideally, but I have worked out I could probably get 25 metre legs in. Okay. So the 80 metre linear loaded dipole we made, that goes that went along 12.5 metres and came back 12.5 metres. We had to chop about 1.5 metres off to get it at 3.75 or whatever we wanted in the UK. USA, you would need it a little bit smaller if you're up towards 3.8, 3.9, but we can't go beyond 3.8 here. So if 12.5, I'll get my calculator out, if 12.5 metres did 3.75 divided by 2, by doubling it, I get half the frequency. So 1875, 1.875 is probably about 25 metres, okay? It'll be a wee bit less because proportionally it will be closer to the ground. Now, I did some experiments years ago, and I from about 4 feet, 1.2 metres and below on 40 metres, things became a bit quiet, okay? From 6 feet, roughly 2 metres, it was singing, NVIS, near vertical incidence skywave propagation. In other words, plenty of my signal was going straight up, or ish, out like that, and back down. So 6 feet. So if I was on 80 metres, I'd need 12 feet. And if I was on 160 metres, I'd need, 24 feet. Let's say 6 feet. Yeah, 12, 24. So I'm after 24, 25 feet. So, I mean, it's 5, 6 metres off the ground, right? Which is quite big. It's still pretty tall to thread a wire through that forest. So I think what we'll probably do, and we'll go outside and have some options now. I've got a roll of, someone's after me, a roll of wire somewhere, which I've just pinched off Lockie. It's not DX10, because I don't want to waste a roll of that, we're running short. It's just some other wire. Actually, we're going to set it as radial wire. But I'm going to use that. It's fairly brittle, it's not as flexible. And I'll have to run, that'll use up a whole 100 metres, won't we? Because we're there and back, all right? So we'll use 25 metres there, 25 metres back, same the other leg, load of shrink wrap. It'll be a blooming nightmare. But I might start that. I'm going to live stream in about 25 minutes time. But let's go outside now and we'll discuss some options out there. And then you can advise me which one you would have done, because I haven't completely made my mind up yet. All right, so let's get the drone, the rest of the camera gear, and I'll see you outside. All right, so a lot of you have seen this antenna field before. This is a Signature 12.4. I don't really want to take it down, okay? And if we did, we'd have to find the 80 metre element, which is here, and just put a little coil. I don't know, probably about 100 mil, 4 inches, 50-ish turns, something like that. Rings, feels about right. Then we could get this tuned up on 160 metres. And the trouble is, you got to remember, so that's about 4 times shorter than it should be. So it'd be pretty inefficient, particularly with only 300 or 400 metres of radials on the ground. Inverted L's, not so much, because we could come off at, I don't know, that guy point there. What's that? 6 metres, 7 metres off the ground. At least a guy point we could pull at one side and go off to these trees somewhere. But we'd need at least 30 metres of wire. That's actually probably 30 metres. That is an option. That's an option, inverted L. Maybe take off 15 or something from here and shoot off maybe to that tree. What would you do? Would you have inverted L, right? Would you put a coil? So the object today is, I'm polling you. What would you do, all right? So, coax runs sort of problem. A very high quality coax coming to this toy here. EcoFlex 15, it's massive stuff. So I'm all right out to the box, particularly on 160. Let's go through the woods. I'll show you what I mean. Now, the 80 metre linear loaded dipole is just here, look. And that works fine, and that is about 8 feet off the ground, I would say. 2 and a bit metres. Comes to a feed point here. We might just have to take all this down if we're putting 160 metres up. And we'll use the bits at the beginning. Got a little dipole centre up there. If we're going to do a linear loaded dipole, we've got to go all the way down here, right to the bottom. So let's I'll walk down here. So this is about 30 metres from that feed point, which is ideal, to be honest. It's a nice easy tree to get to. It's about 3.5 metres off the ground. I could cope with that. Little ridge here, you see. There's some, well, saplings, trees actually, that have grown up over. They've obviously planted them here. I don't know what this is for. Oh, nice little route here to that tree. It's about 30 metres. We used some paracord, linear loaded. That would do one leg. Still got to get the other leg in though. I'll tell you what, before you make your decision, let's show you the other end. Now, you've got to remember that as soon as you start putting loading coils, linear loaded, anything like that, which way, on a dipole or a vertical, any antenna, you get a sharper and sharper SWR curve. That's okay, we've got an outboard tuner we could tweak it with. Where's our tree? I want to do it so we don't need an outboard tuner, we could just use the internal ATU, because in the UK on 160 metres we're not allowed huge power on. We're allowed I can't remember the power. I'll put it down here. 30 something watts are allowed. They all use 500 watts, but I don't like breaking that amount of power laws. So yeah, 80's up here. And we need a 25 metre stretch over this way somewhere. It'll count it actually. 1, 2, well, hang on a minute. 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 11, 12, 14, 15, 13. Yeah, you see, there's the end of the 80 here. So effectively we need double this. So that was... Now, how do I get through this anyway? I mean, we could. Tennis ball and a bit of string, you know. But how many metres is it? I want to count at least 12 from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 12. Okay, so Philippe goes under. Did you ever watch the Jack Cousteau? Oh my goodness, a bit overgrown in here. That's the other dog pen in there, which we don't use because it's our own field. All right, we could come to here. I can see I've got one of those easy throwers. Just get it up over. We just need it over the top of these bushes here, don't we? Ow! But like all these things, remember, a 2-hour project is going to take 4. 4-hour project takes 8. A 1-day project takes a week. So I think, unless you have any other bright ideas, that's the only options. Now, if you remember, I put a huge loop on the ground a while ago. There's a 4-to-1 balun here somewhere. It's only a foot off the ground. It's 90 metres all the way around. It should work quite well as a receiver antenna, I would have thought. I've tried tuning it. It's too far away. Not with the inbuilt ATU anyway. And the coax run is directly to the rig, not through the big ATU. I mean, I know some of you are going to go, oh, put it right over the top of the trees. I have done that before and it does work. It breaks in the end anyway. I mean, they all break. Everything breaks in the end, doesn't it? It's outside in the elements. A big inverted L could be an answer as well. So there's the options, isn't there? Really. If we don't put a coil at the bottom, we're into a linear loaded... we could do a linear loaded inverted L, but we don't need to. We could do an inverted L off that 6-7 metre feed point down to some big tree over there. That would give us the whole length. That would give us the 40 metres or 38 metres of wire that we need for an inverted L. I've got enough carpet on the ground in terms of copper wire. That should work absolutely fine because it's full size. It's not like tiny. We'll model this in a minute, the difference between an inverted L and then this contraption that goes right through the forest here. Slightly more difficult, but more efficient on the one hand, and also with the Signature 12.4, I don't have to muck around with it, I just leave it there. Now, I prefer that. I'm heading down towards this linear loaded 160. So that would be 50 metres in total. What's that? 50, 100, about 165 feet in total length. A lot of people can fit that in. Here's the next plane coming over. We started filming when the last one came over. Let's have a look at it. I must say, it's a lovely blue fluffy sky today. It's been tipping down with rain recently. Right, let's go back in the bunker and we'll just model very briefly an inverted L and a dipole. We don't need to put a linear loaded dipole just to give us the far field patterns. That might be quite interesting. Come on. I'll tell you, it's just as well I checked. The contest I was thinking of entering is CW only. But let us at least carry on with this project. So we could just briefly model the an inverted L. We're going to go up 7 metres and along, I don't know, something like 35. So let me just quickly model this and I'll get back to you. Okay, ignore the SWR, all right. Most of these modelling issues, we've got a problem with the maths if you're trying to do a long bit of horizontal wire less than a quarter of wavelength off the ground, okay? But so ignore the impedance. This is 35 metres one way. Well, you can see it, there it is there. So if we zoom the currents, you'll see that a lot of the current is coming off the top. There we are. Anyway, that's just what I'm really interested in is the far field plot. All right, you can see this bubble of RF, and it's not actually that strong at the top where we want it around here for top band. Right, not for DX, but for the top. We're looking at sort of 2.8, 2.9 dBi. Right. Now, that doesn't mean anything until we compare it with something else. So let me switch off this blooming power supply. It's been sucking no power for 2 hours, and it's not even warm. Okay, it's next to the ACOM amplifier, but kicks in, the fan makes a racket. I need another one. So we will draw, we'll do an XY, yeah, okay, so we'll do minus 35 one way, plus 35 the other way, and we said it was going to be Z. Let's put it about 3 more meters off the ground. All right. Again, I'm only really interested in the bubble of RF. So that's it there, going through the trees. Maybe a wee bit higher. We could probably get it a touch higher. 3.5, let's say then. And we're not going to do the coil thing, because that would just be a really super inefficient vertical. Maybe okay for DX, but not for local stuff. And we need wire 1 center. We need a feed point, a bit of coax, ladder line, whatever you like, right in the middle. That's the red dot here. Okay. So let's just calculate this for 1.9-ish. Okay, again, I'm not really interested in the SWR. We can, if you like, just see. Doesn't know where it is really, but it won't be far off. That'll be the plot, and we can see that we've got a much better, healthier looking gain than we've got on the inverted L. The inverted L works, okay, but I think we'll find the dipole's a bit easier. Doesn't cock anything up. That's my preference. So you put in what you think I should do. You're probably going to tell me that you want to know what a coil would look like at the bottom of that 12.4, and we will give it a go sometime. It sounds like a fun project. Right, just before I go, there is another option. You can build, so if you take a loop, an 80-meter loop, and you cut a section out the middle. I mean, we could very quickly draw this. I promise you it won't take very long. Let me just delete this. And let's just quickly draw XY before we go. All right, some random square. And we'll just scale this in a minute. Hang on. That's 20. So roughly about that size. Yeah. So now what I'm going to do, opposite the feed point. So we'll have the feed point here on wire 1, and opposite the feedback, let me just divide the wire into 3 pieces. I'm going to delete the middle bit. All right. So for years I ran 80 meters like this. This was a 40 meter loop, and for years I ran 80 meters like this. All right, we don't need that one. Make sure I'm recording this okay for you. I believe you are. Believe you can see it. Lovely. Right, wire 1 center. And we might need a 4-to-1 balun. I don't know, but that's it there. And we'll lift it off the ground. Let's say it's going to 1.9. Lift it off the ground, 4 meters high. All right. Now, SWR's all over the place. Let me just quickly have a look. It might be resonant if we're lucky. We probably have to lift it off the ground higher. We just lift it off the ground higher, just for the sake of the maths. You'll start to see the SWR get a bit better. It might actually be resonant somewhere now. It doesn't know where it's resonant, but in reality, this would actually give us a really good plot as well. And you can see what it looks like. It's this thing here. And so if you've got enough space for an 80 meter loop all the way around, you've got enough space for a 160 meter halo. All right, so that's just interesting food for thought. Give that'll work. Okay, promise you. I don't know what the impedance is going to be. You might get away with straight coax. You might need a 4-to-1 balun. I don't know. But if you want me to build that one, I will as well, because we can squeeze that in the field. Okay, and that might be quite fun. All right, so we got the coil, which would discount for the time being. Inverted L. Was a favourite of mine. It's easier, I think, but I would love her just to be able to click 160 meters, dedicated dipole. That's my favourite. Okay, or we got this, but I'd need to put some poles in the fence, around the fence post. Okay, so from Callum here and Django on the floor. Slightly longer one today. Hope you don't mind. From Peter and I, Peter the parrot, and me, and the next video, which is coming up here. I will see you in the next one. Bye for now. Adios. Right, Django, you want to go out and have a run around?